The San Francisco 49ers improved to a perfect 3-0 with a primetime Thursday night football win over the New York Giants, 30-12. We're giving out game balls. How did it happen? Instant reaction from week 3 coming at you right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
On 49ers, Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you at BD Peacock, at Eric_Crocker. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big ups to all the everydayers out there. See a bunch of you already in the live chat post-game. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. 3-0, Croc. Easy, right? Easy peasy. New York Giants coming to town. Ain't nothing, right? 30-12, the final score. Felt a little close. It felt Thursday night-ish, right? Like, you can't expect to roll into a Thursday night game and be all clean and you're all, all practiced up and everything's all spotless and you're looking good like you got a dinner party coming over to the house. It's a little ugly every time on Thursday night. So the 49ers have proven the last couple of weeks that they can win when things aren't perfect, things are a little weird, things are a little ugly, and they can go win themselves a football game in a lot of different ways, which is huge for this team and really in a commanding place right now to start the season at 3-0.
I'm in a group chat with some Cowboy fans, and, we've talked about those guys before, and they're like, oh, 49ers don't look good. We smashed these dudes 40-0, blah, blah. I'm like, look, the game starts off a little weird. Don't worry about that. Like, this is a Thursday night game. 49ers still score 30 points. I got the text messages right here to prove it. I told them they'll still score 30 points. They'll still get out of here with a blowout win. And what the 49ers do, they scored 30 points and got out of there with a blowout win. Even if it didn't always feel like that, the 49ers were in command really from start to finish. The one thing I really loved about this was, Brock Purdy started off shaky, right? And the more he has kind of like these shaky moments and then comes firing back and finishes strong, I just get more and more encouraged by like what I'm seeing and who he is. So right now I'm like, man, the 49ers got Drew Brees Jr. And even when he starts off a little weird, I don't think there's anything to worry about. 3-0.
Yeah, it's Purdy's. I think we got to start with Brock Purdy because he's such an interesting player and his style of play and how he wins and where he wins. And it should not be a surprise at all. And I just listened to Kyle Shanahan post game talking about it. He said they were prepared for pressure. We talked about it. I've talked about it on multiple radio shows recently. We're looking at the New York Giants. Don Martindale, the defense coordinator. That's what he does. They bring as much pressure as any defense in the NFL. And they brought a lot of pressure, Croc. I want to go to the stats here with the pressure numbers for Brock Purdy. The Giants blitzed Brock Purdy on 33 of his 39 dropbacks. That's 84.6%, almost 85% of the snaps. Brock Purdy was blitzed. The highest blitz rate in a game, not only this year, not only this week, but in the next-gen stats era. This is an NFL next-gen stat. 33 of 39 dropbacks, 84.6%. So they had a clear game plan for Brock Purdy. It's like, this is a young quarterback. We are going to pressure this young quarterback, and we're going to make him make some mistakes. And that was a clear game plan. You kind of knew he was going to get pressured. Didn't quite realize, and I thought it might have been closer to 100%. Like, yeah, I can't remember. I can remember 2 or 3 snaps that Brock Purdy was not blitzed on, right? And it ended up being 6 snaps. He was not dropbacks. He was not blitzed on. Purdy averaged the fastest time to throw of his career because he was getting pressured by the New York Giants. And Purdy's stats versus the blitz, he was 20 of 31 passing, 247 yards, and 2 touchdowns overall for Brock Purdy. His first 300-yard passing game, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Croc, 25 of 37 passing, and a 1 111.3 passer rating. So he weathered the storm. They came out there. I love it from the Giants. The Giants were undermanned. They're not as good as the 49ers. So you have a young quarterback who's not played 16, he's not 17, whatever, but he's not played a full season's worth of NFL football games. He's a 7th round pick. Go after him. I understand that concept. And I think it's a good game plan for a team that's undermanned and you're trying to beat a team that's better than you. Go after the young quarterback. And Brock Purdy said, okay, come at me. And there were some mistakes he made, but he came out of it on top, right? And Purdy just keeps passing every single test that keeps getting thrown at him. And this was a lot of pressure. And then Kyle Shanahan said they expected it. They were ready for it. And Brock Purdy was ready for it.
It was shaky early on. I couldn't tell who he was trying to throw the ball to. Is he looking for his players or for New York Giants players? He was definitely throwing to the wrong color. But once he settled in, I feel like he started to settle in once he threw that layered throw over around the left sideline to George Kittle. Beautiful throw. We'll talk about the Deebo Samuel one in a little bit, the touchdown to him. But that layered throw might be my favorite throw of the day from him. I mean, just with the touch, the trajectory of it, the placement of it, that was terrific. And he needed that because early on, it was shaky. You talked about the blitz. I think he felt that. He was throwing off his back leg. He was throwing into the ground. He was throwing before he wanted to. They probably felt like they had something. And clearly he's like, nah, I'm just getting started. I'm just getting warmed up. And once he got warmed up, he was throwing dots. Now, there were a few passes that I feel like got away from him a little bit, as that happens to every quarterback every game. But when it was time to make some big boy throws, the touchdown to Ronnie Bell, dropping back with the pressure and throwing that anticipatory throw to the sideline where Ronnie Bell has a toe tap. I thought that was great location, great timing, especially against the blitz. Good job there. The touchdown to Deebo Samuel, again, under pressure, drops it in the bucket over the right shoulder of Deebo Samuel. Really the only place where he could really make a play on the ball, gets both feet down. All right, so terrific stuff from him. He showed a lot of resiliency throughout the night. And, I continue to be impressed by him every time I see him, which is what we wanted, right? Like you go into the game and it's like, all right, he's going to start getting tested this season. What's it going to look like? They got film. Somebody's film told them pressure him more and you'll be able to fluster him. Early on, it looked like it. But again, he rebounded extremely well. Another 30-point game for Brock Purdy.
Yep, 30 points in every single game this year for the 49ers so far. There was the he threw 2 potentially interceptable passes on the very first drive of the game, but they weren't picked off. So he got away with them. Did you see, by the way, it was George Kittle, right, that broke up one of those plays that could have been intercepted on the first drive?
He did the seatbelt celebration.
Seatbelt straps, which is like straps, like he strapped them that is what a DB would do when he straps a wide receiver and gets a pass breakup. George Kittle, like just to even that tells you where George Kittle's brain is, where his mind is, to think of that in a game where he's an offensive player that breaks up a potential interception and then throws the straps on. I mean, I was dying. That's hilarious.
Never does it. Now, who could have did the straps was that linebacker covering Christian McCaffrey, but Christian McCaffrey sold Brock Purdy because that was another beautiful throw, would-be touchdown. Down the left sideline, drops it in the bucket. He has it. He thinks he has the touchdown and the linebacker. Kudos to him for knocking it out. But CMC, help your quarterback out, man. He's hanging in there. He's throwing the ball down the field. That was a beautiful throw. And for everything that we got on him about last week, I say got on him, but we brought up, like, bro, you're missing these vertically pushing routes. I thought he was awesome tonight pushing the ball down the field to the pass catchers.
Yeah, that was a good play. It was a good play by the linebacker. Kind of just like doinked it out of there. Just barely got it. And
do you think that it made a difference with no Brandon Ayuk? As far as like I felt like a little crowded. Did it feel crowded, the game a little bit without Ayuk being in there?
I think that was part of why they probably went so heavy with the game plan, because they said, look, your intermediate to deep guy that makes those plays is not out there tonight. So that just solidifies it. We're going to bring pressure at you. We're going to blitz the pass. We're going to blitz the run. If you're running, you're running into us, blitzing into those gaps. And so I think that was I don't have a problem with the game plan. Like the 49ers just beat it, right? And they weathered the early storm. And as Kyle put it in the post game, they zero blitzed on the first play of the game. And by the way, so one reporter asked Kyle's like, what were you so mad about on the first play of the game on the sideline? He's like, I was trying to think of the play. And then someone reminded him what the play was. He's like, oh, I can't tell you what I was mad about on that play. So there's something scheme wise maybe that he was mad about on that play. But yeah, they were zero blitzing from the very first snap of the game. And that first drive, it did look ugly. And there were some interceptable balls, but Brock Purdy came through it okay, made some big throws, made some big plays. The playmakers came to make plays, including Deebo Samuel. We'll talk about some of those playmakers.
Real quick. We're putting a lot of emphasis on the first drive and everything. And the 49ers still got points. And that's kind of been the theme of this team where even at their lowest, even at their ugliest so far, it's like, man, interceptable passes, your receivers having to kind of bail you out. But, hey, got points on the board somehow, some way. And that's just this team. Maybe they're just that good.
It looks like they're that good. I mean, they're a team that can overcome things, and you can lose a player here or there. The defense can take away this, and then you've got that. And I think that's where the 49ers are right now, and that's really exciting. So next, I want to talk about some of those playmakers. We're going to give out some game balls as well from week 3. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Gametime. And when you're buying tickets to your favorite events, like a 49ers NFL football game, those events should not be stressful, right? You're trying to go out and have a good time. The procuring of tickets should not be something that is so difficult that it makes you not even want to go, that it ruins your time. And with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have at an event with Gametime. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all of your NFL games, your 49ers games, your football games, your baseball games, your basketball games, any sports, music, concerts, comedy, any theater near you. You can find tickets at Gametime or on the Gametime app. So forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, and more. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account at Gametime and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I'm very excited about our latest sponsor because I've used them so many times, DoorDash. If you're missing the syrup for your pancakes in the morning, or you just ran out of your favorite coffee creamer, with DoorDash grocery delivery, you can get what you want right when you need it. Love the convenience of DoorDash and getting exactly what you need right to your door. With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can stock up for the week or order just some last-minute cravings or whatever you need at any time of the day conveniently. You've trusted DoorDashes to deliver your restaurant favorites and get dinner and lunch whenever you need it, but now you can get groceries delivered right to your door as well. With easy substitutions right in the app and best-in-class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it. Get 50% off your DoorDash, by the way, with Locked On NFL promo code. Up to $20 value when you use code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout. Limited time offer. Terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20. No minimum subtotal and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKEDONNFL. Don't forget, that's code LOCKEDONNFL for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. All right. We got Purdy. Does Purdy get a game ball, or did the interceptable passes early in the game take that game ball away from you? This first 300-yard game, Croc, 85% blitz rate against him.
And on top of that, I mean, you threw 37 passes, right? And how many times do you think that the 49ers are going to throw 37 passes in the game where they win by, 18 points? So I want to say keep throwing, and we'll give out game balls to some of these other pass catchers. And I'm pretty sure Brandon Ayuk's watching like, man, can I get in on this as well? 12 targets to Deebo Samuel, 9 to George Kittle. What did we talk about in previous years? Like, there should not be a game where Deebo Samuel and George Kittle don't get at least 8 targets. And you just see what they do. The more targets you give them, the impact that they have. I understand the 49ers offense, ball control, all that. These guys, all 3 of them, throw Ayuk in there as well. They each need 8 targets per game. And then everybody else can have whatever's left over.
It was wild how many plays the 49ers ran in this game, because it was pretty clear early on that the Giants' run defense was awful, and the 49ers were going to be able to run the ball. And you kind of started seeing that, and Kyle started calling more and more run plays, and Christian McCaffrey's getting going a little bit. And it was like, oh, this is going to be a ground game, right? Because they can't stop the run, and they're blitzing the pass like crazy because they're trying to get the 49ers off the field, trying to create a big play. And but they ended up throwing the ball. How many attempts was it, Croc, for Purdy? 37. Yeah, 37 total attempts, despite getting blitzed that many times in those 37 attempts. 310 yards, Purdy's first 300-yard game in the NFL. But McCaffrey,
were they saying this? Were they blitzing because it's like, hey, we are going to make Brock Purdy beat us? Like, so we're just going to load the block box. We're going to send guys. And if you run it, you're going to run into 8 bodies. If you throw it, you better get the ball off quick. Do you think that's what it was? Like, hey, we want to make Brock Purdy beat us, and then he beat you?
Absolutely. No, that was 100% what it was. The Giants, I think rightly and smartly, looked at this game and said, look, this is short week on the road, home opener, and they're a better team than us. So how do we create an advantage? How do we create something for us? Well, this dude started 10 games in the NFL. Let's blitz him. Let's see if we can just throw all the pressure possible. It's what we do. It's what we do best anyway. So let's just go all the way in on it and see if we can create some big plays. And they almost did on that first drive, but it ended up, not working because they weren't able to create enough pressure and bother Purdy enough, especially after that first drive. And the 49ers were up to the challenge. But at the same time, the 49ers ran the ball almost 40 times too. And, there was a kneel down at the end from Sam Darnold that counts as a rush, but
there were a few from Purdy too, a few kneel downs and like recovering a fumble. I think because I hit on Underdog Fantasy, and part of it was I took the higher on Brock Purdy's rushing, and he technically had 4 carries, even though he didn't have any carries.
Oh, just rushing attempts?
Yeah, I took the higher on his rushing attempts, and it ended up being 4. He got 4, so I hit, but really it was 3 kneels like before the half or whatever, or something like that, and then like falling on a fumble.
I got hurt on the rushing stuff because I thought it would be a Deebo game, and Deebo went off 6 catches for 129 yards through the air and a touchdown, 21 and a half yards average. He was carrying dudes around. Vintage Deebo game. But I thought he'd be involved in the run game a little bit because I thought there'd be less of Christian McCaffrey because of what Kyle Shanahan said during the week. Short week. But Christian McCaffrey's higher lower was 17 and a half rushes, and he had 18. So he got over that by a half and had 5 catches as well. So still 23 touches plus some incomplete passes thrown his way for Christian McCaffrey. So he was still very involved, but they still were able to give Elijah Mitchell 11 carries. Jordan Mason at the end of the game, garbage time, had 3 carries as well. So they just ran a ton of plays on offense, did the 49ers, because they had the ball so much. And you know why? Because they had 441 total yards compared to 150 total yards for the New York Giants, only 137 yards passing for Daniel Jones. And I thought, like, the one thing you have is a pretty athletic quarterback. And that's one thing Brian Daboll has been able to do with the Giants is get his quarterback out there on the run and make some plays and, be a problem for defenses. Daniel Jones carried it twice for 5 yards. So really, like, the Giants just had nothing on offense to give them an opportunity to go beat the 49ers.
We talked about the usage of Christian McCaffrey. I was very critical of the 49ers, like saying, hey, you need to give him pretty much what I was saying was lower percentage touches considering how many plays you run. So last week he touched the ball 23 times, right? But they ran like 50 something plays, and he was out there 100% of the snap. This game he touched the ball 23 times, but they ran over 78. They ran 78 plays.
Yeah, something like that.
We're talking about 30 more plays, or however many. Like, cool. You want to get him like those touches winning that, but you have 15, 16 rushes from guys not named Christian McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel, I am all for that. I'm just the workload of last week where he's like, he plays 100% of the snaps. It's like, well, yeah, he's going to break down doing that. But if you're telling me he's getting rest, he's out for several snaps, there's, 15, 16 other runs that he's not in for. That's not even including pass plays with Elijah Mitchell in there. I feel like that's more the way that his usage should be.
Here's an interesting stat. While we're talking about the quarterbacks real quick, or we were talking about the quarterbacks. This one from George Shahuri from Pro Football Focus. There are only 2 quarterbacks with fewer than 10 big-time throws, as Pro Football Focus calls them, over the last 2 seasons. Only 2 quarterbacks with fewer than 10 big-time throws over the last 2 seasons, but that also have a 70-plus PFF passing grade over those same 2 seasons. Those 2 quarterbacks were playing tonight. It's Brock Purdy and Daniel Jones. I wonder if they added to the big time throw percentage. And I don't think Daniel Jones did, but maybe Brock Purdy did. And some folks in the chat said their favorite throw was actually the incomplete pass to Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that was sweet.
I think my favorite throw was probably the one to Deebo Samuel. Again, getting pressured, gave his guy a chance, threw it out there, back shoulder of corner of the end zone. Deebo went up, stole a guy's chain, and it was a touchdown. That one I liked quite a bit.
So we got 3 different plays that people like, right? Like you love the Deebo one, they love the Christian McCaffrey one, and I love the Kittle one. And the reason why I love the Kittle one is because to throw that from the pocket, it was like a far hash throw. The trajectory has to have a very specific amount of air on it, and it can only drop in one spot, but it has to come down before the defender can come over top, but it has to be high enough to get over that underneath defender. So like just the difficulty of that throw, that's what made it my favorite. But yeah, I mean come on, you can't go wrong with either one of those.
I mean, we've talked so much about Purdy saying we got to move on and give out the rest of our game balls, but that's what's so impressive about him is just how in tune. In fact, you know what? That brings up one of my points. My next game ball I'm going to give out, and in fact, we're going to give out all the rest of our game balls next, Croc. But one I want to give out that is kind of an all-encompassing game ball for a lot of what we're seeing right now with the San Francisco 49ers team. Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Just missed on a couple of my PrizePicks picks for the 49ers Giants game. No running totals for Daniel Jones. I did not see that one coming. McCaffrey just barely went over for the carries total because the 49ers played so many snaps and the running game was flat out working in this one. So Kyle really wanted to stick with the ground game, even though he ended up throwing the ball a whole bunch of times as well. PrizePicks is the most fun you will have playing daily fantasy this year. You can win up to 25 times your money as well. I did that last week. So far, Thursday nighter, I came up empty because I didn't get those 2 stats, but I was good on the Deebo. I thought it was going to be a Deebo game, and I was good on the receptions as well for George Kittle. You can turn $10, by the way, into $250 with just a few taps, less than 60 seconds to make an entry at PrizePicks, and not only tons of NFL stats that you can pick the more or less than projected stat number on throughout the week 3 schedule, but tons of other sports as well at PrizePicks. And all you got to do is visit prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL to join up, or download the app and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. I want to give out a game ball, Croc, to the 49ers coaching staff, not just Kyle Shanahan and Steve Wilkes, but the position coaches as well. Because you look up and down the San Francisco 49ers roster and you see Brock Purdy is a better NFL football player than he was a college football player, like period. Right.
I think that's the part that there's a lot of like, last pick in the draft and all this. And I think you summed it up perfect. And I haven't heard anyone word it that way. He is a better NFL quarterback than he was college.
Like the tape is the tape. And Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft. He was a 7th round pick for a reason. You watch the tape, you're like, okay, Brock Purdy, you're like, cool. But you didn't see this coming for Brock Purdy. George Kittle, much better NFL player than he was a college player. But Ronnie Bell, we looked at the Ronnie Bell tape. We're like, he's, fine, I guess. I don't know. Maybe bottom of the roster. Maybe he'll make the team. He comes out there and it's like, who's Brandon Ayuk? I'm going to go score a touchdown on my first ever target in the NFL, right? He's blocking people. He's getting out of his breaks, I think, better than we saw him in the college game. I feel like he's separating better in the NFL versus better competition than he did in college. Aaron Banks, right? What he's done from what we saw on his college tape to being just non-existent in his rookie year, couldn't get on the field, to having a much better second year, now looking really good in his third year. Even Christian McCaffrey has played better on the 49ers. John Lynch this offseason was like, man, they obviously traded a lot to get Christian McCaffrey. John Lynch was like, dude, Christian McCaffrey's even better than we thought he was going to be. And he is so perfect for Kyle Shanahan's offense, right? And seeing how much it matters to him on every single snap for every single yard. These are impressive things. And so I just want to shout out the entire coaching staff for getting the most out of guys. And it's a theme now for the 49ers to draft guys on day 3 that are better NFL players than they were college football players.
Yeah, they're doing an amazing job. And the interesting thing with that is, and it might have to do some with who the guys are and the culture of this team, because I've talked about it before. When I got to the NFL, I realized really quick, the coaching staff does not really develop you in the sense of ability. Like, that's going to come with off-season training, working with personal trainers and things like that, and then being able to retain that information and then utilize it. The NFL, it's mostly a mental game. And they tell you that, right? 90% mental, 10% physical, because everybody's physically gifted at that level. So when you see what's going on here and you see guys improving, a lot of it has to do with just buying in to whatever the 49ers are selling.
Coach T says you trashed the wide receiver from Michigan, Croc, in your post-draft evaluation. We didn't love, he's a 7th round pick, so it's like whatever. He's a 7th round guy for a reason. But I didn't really see this from he literally looks better in almost every aspect of his game.
What did I say Kyle Shanahan would love about him?
His willingness to block.
His willingness to block, right? Like, so that stands out the most. Outside of that, like, he's not. I had somebody, I was in the Bleacher Report, live doing my live stream with Bleacher Report, and somebody was like, when Ayuk moves on, like, he could be replaced. Like, he's not Ayuk, he's not Deebo. Like, he's not that. Like, he's more a replacement for Javon Jennings, who Javon Jennings is somebody I probably wouldn't have cared too much for when he was coming out. But it's
also
like, when you can find
free agent, Javon Jennings, by the way.
You said what?
Also going to be a free agent.
Right,
so,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So if you're telling me he could replace him as the wide receiver 3 and catch 30 passes, then okay. I'm not saying the guy is like.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And we saw this in the chat as well a little bit here earlier that it's like, let Ayuk walk. And it's like, I actually made the joke on Twitter, did the Spider-Man meme, right? Where they're pointing at each other. It's like Brandon Ayuk and Ronnie Bell. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I just love the physicality. And I thought maybe because Chris Connolly, remember, was running ahead of him in camp. I thought because they elevated Chris Conley from the practice squad to the 53 that he might leapfrog him and actually get the start in place of Ayuk. But it was Ronnie Bell, so they have confidence in the rookie too. And he's shout out to his dad, who was a coach, right? I think a wide receivers coach somewhere in college. Is he not? Ronnie Bell's dad.
I did hear that he is a coach. I don't remember at what level, but I remember that during the process.
So yeah, he's a well-coached guy. He came into the league ready to play some football. Brian Middlecoff says, is this about the Niners picking the high character guys or the guys that fit their scheme and type of play? I think there's some of that late in the drafts. I think they're picking guys that are wired correctly because the height, weight, speed guys that are the first round types are kind of already off the board. And so they just have to pick, like John Lynch is like picking dudes like him on day 3. I think that's a big part of it, right? It's those types of guys. He's like, he was that guy, so he understands it, and I think that's a big part of why they're hitting so much on those late round picks.
I still would have liked to see A.T. Perry even over Bill. So Bill's sweet, he's doing a good job right now. But if you told me it's not named Bill, it's A.T. Perry, I'd be like, yep.
It'd be fun. A.T. Perry doesn't draft or doesn't block as well, but he goes up and gets the ball down the field. I wonder what he's doing. I haven't checked in on what he's doing this year.
Kyle said, "You can't block, can't play. No block, no rock."
No skinny guys, no skinny tall guys at wide receiver. So Purdy got a game ball. I gave a game ball to the coaches. I'm giving Deebo Samuel for sure a game ball. His output in this one, he was big. He was the 49ers' biggest weapon in this game, 129 yards receiving. He had a couple of carries as well. I don't know if he only had 2 yards receiving. I thought we might see a little bit more wide back actually in this one, but 6 catches, 129 yards, carrying dudes, vintage Deebo Samuel. Love seeing that part of Deebo. Who you got game balls before we go, Croc?
You said vintage Deebo Samuel. While I was watching just how he was doing it, and then the contested catch in the end zone, I'm wondering if that's the best version of Deebo I've ever seen. Because the run after catch tonight was drastically different than, he not just broke a tackle. It's like he broke a tackle and it's like, is he going to score? Like it's like then he broke a tackle, he gets 10 more yards, then he breaks another tackle, picks up another 5, like drags guys. This was probably the best version of Deebo that I've seen. And then the contested catch, I feel like we get one or the other. It's like he might give us a contested catch, or more times than not, he gives us kind of the run after catch type stuff. And he kind of got the offense going. I think early on, Kyle, it was clear, like, okay, they're pressuring. What are we going to do? They start throwing the ball more laterally than vertically, a lot of screens. Well, Deebo kind of set that off with his screen and breaking tackles. And I'm like, I think this guy's going to take it to the house.
Yeah.
Right? So might be the best version of Deebo. But here we go. I'll give a game ball to Nick Bosa. I think we've kind of been, right, definitely me, I'm like, got to get in that shape. And tonight, it was like, okay, I get a sack, even though he kind of came clean. It's like they forgot to block the best player on defense, but he gets a sack. And I thought even outside of that, he was kind of tormenting the quarterback. This off the heels of being the highest graded pass rusher against the Rams. But terrific job by Nick Bosa. Finally got home, and I think it's time to say, all right, I think he's ready to go. Excuse me.
Ronnie Bell's for sure a game ball. I don't know if we mentioned that. We talked about Ronnie Bell. We didn't say game ball officially. So Ronnie Bell, a game ball. You're talking about sacks. I'm going to give a game ball to the other guy that got a sack in this one. And one of the newest 49ers, Javon Hargrave. Straight. That was one of the most there was another grown man 300 pounds in front of him. He said, "You're getting the hell out of my way, and I'm going that way directly through you and into the quarterback." And I love seeing that. So Javon Hargrave, he gets a game ball for me.
I want to give a game ball really to the entire 49er defense and just what they did to bottle up Daniel Jones. You look at Daniel Jones' numbers, the box score for a quarterback that threw 32 passes, you had 137 yards. And I say half of his completions were like 3-yard passes to Paris Campbell on little quick outs.
Do they have the biggest plethora of like wide receiver threes in the NFL? Every time one of these guys' name was called, I was like, what are you guys doing there roster building wise? Slayton, Paris Campbell, Wan'Dale Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins. I don't know if Jalen Hyatt was ever even on the field. I thought they might try a couple of deep balls with him. I don't think he got targeted in this game.
He was on the field. He just didn't get targeted.
Like, what are you even doing there? Like, nobody they have no 1s or 2s. They just have all 3s and 4s. And they're all kind of like one guy doesn't really ever get going because they're always just like rotating them in the game. I don't really know what the plan is there. And, Daniel Jones is a pretty mediocre quarterback in the first place. So honestly, I got to credit Brian Peacock for how well he did with this team last year, because I think they overachieved. The New York Giants aren't a good football team.
I thought that they looked like, they overachieved last year. They made the playoffs, and they were supposed to be that next up team, right? It's like, the big dogs. It's the Eagles. It's the 49ers. It's the Cowboys. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, like who else is going to be kind of in the mix? And you throw names out there like, oh, the Giants, here they come, the Seahawks. And I don't know. You look at the Giants, we might be able to cross them off that list real quick. But Daboll, I know he's a good coach, but it feels like with all his receivers, there's really no plan. Like there is no Like, this is what we want to do with you, and you do this different than the other guys. They threw a few passes to Darren Waller, and that's supposed to be the guy. Like, that's supposed to be the one. That's supposed to be the wide receiver one, right? And I thought that the quarterback was just way off target, even throwing to a 6'6" guy with a huge catch radius.
Yeah, and I didn't think Waller really looked like vintage Waller either. He didn't look. Yeah, so yeah, it's going to be a rough year, I think, for the Giants, who are now 1-2 on the season. Maybe we can talk about this a little bit more in the rewatch. Maybe we'll tease a little bit. I want to talk to you about how the defensive backs were a little bit more aggressive. There's a lot more press in this game than I expected to see, and so I think that's a good one to sort of tease for next time when we come back after the weekend. Maybe do a rewatch, talk about some of the things we missed in this game that maybe we didn't see. Everyone in the chat, I got to address this before we go, Croc. Everyone wants to give a game ball to Money Moody. Did you make money on Moody? Did you? Because you used them all over your PrizePicks plays last week. Did you have any Moody money this week? Because the folks want Moody. What do you think?
Definitely, he still is 100%. So he's doing awesome. I did not have him in any. I don't know why I didn't, but he's been awesome. I did do Gano, and he came through. He had 2 field goal kicks, so he kind of worked for me. But
it felt like a field goal game for the Giants for sure.
Yeah,
Moody 3 of 3, 9 of 9 now for the season. Right?
Money Moody.
9 of 9, Money Moody. He's hitting from 57 yards. He's 1 of 1 from 50 plus. He's 2 of 2 from 40 to 49. He's 2 of 2 from 30 to 39. He's 4 of 4 from 20 to 29 yard field goals. Perfect 9 for 9 for Money Moody. The team's rolling right now, Croc. And now get a little mini bye to get healthy. You don't have to worry about rest for Christian McCaffrey now. You made it through this one. Get the mini bye. You hopefully get Brandon Ayuk back for the next one against the Arizona Cardinals in week 4. It's a good feeling right now to be 3-0 for the San Francisco 49ers with a lot of time to get healthy and really hit the meat of your season win. You know, week 5, got the Cowboys, got the Cincinnati Bengals coming up, got the Cleveland Browns coming up pretty soon. Those are going to be more formidable opponents than I think the 49ers have seen yet this season. So it should be a lot of fun. And of course, Croc and I are here with you every step of the way, every single day here on Locked On 49ers. Appreciate all the everydayers, all the folks jumping in the live chat. And Croc and I will be back Monday right here, Locked On 49ers.
Subscribe to this video.